I'll get some orange juice.
OJ.
ASAP, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Work on that.
Okay.
What else you got for me?
I want to see what you think.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Not yet. Don't even want it. Got one. Own one. Got it. Want it. Got it. Loving it. Over it. I hear he's available. I would look good up there.
Yes, sir. You would.
Mm-hmm. I've got that. I've got those. That's too small. That's too big. Live from Oracle Open World, it's Sunday night.
It's Sunday Night Live from Oracle Open World with Larry Ellison, Safra Katz, Kevin Nealon, Daryl Hammond, Victoria Jackson, Claire Dolan, and Judy Sim, with musical guest Gear Driver featuring Doug Kennedy, and your host, Larry Ellison. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Ellison.
Dude, we don't have a day. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Let's see, tonight, today is the 30th anniversary of Oracle Corporation, but it's also the 10th anniversary of my co-founder's death. Bob Miner died exactly 10 years ago tonight. And I'd like to dedicate this evening to Bob. Bob and I started Oracle. We met in the early 1970s. We were both working for a Silicon Valley company called Ampex. Now, Ampex was the inventor of and was building the most advanced and exotic tape drives in the world. They were called helical scan tape drives. And in those days, tape drives held a lot of data, and disk drives were very, very small. And Ampex had a contract with the Central Intelligence Agency. And we were going to build this system called a large database system based on these tape drives. And the data was going to be stored on these helical scan tape drives, and the index was going to be stored on these little itty-bitty disk drives. And the system was called TBM, or terabit memory system. And by the way, 30 years ago, that was a lot of data. And so Bob and I worked at Ampex, and I have to tell you the truth, Bob was my boss. And he asked me to write the database system to manage the disks. He wouldn't trust me with the tapes, they were too big. In fact, I think everyone in my group was a manager except me. I was the only programmer. Everyone else had the title of manager. And Bob had me write this database that really was, if you will, a clone, if I can say that, a clone of a mainframe database from a company called Culinet. And that mainframe database is called IDMS. So I built this little version of IDMS, and that was going to be the index for this mass storage system. That's what it's called in those days. It was a mass storage system, terabit memory system at Central Intelligence Agency. Anyway, since I was the most junior person in the department, everyone else was a manager, I was a little bit jealous. And I had written the database system, and I actually got a phone call from another competing mass storage company called Precision Instrument Company. And they didn't use tapes for storing vast amounts of data. They actually used lasers to drill little tiny holes in thin film. If you will, they a little bit like writable DVDs, except it wasn't a disc. It was actually a kind of a bizarre thin film that was wrapped around a drum. It was a removable surface cylinder, or removable surface drum. It was a very exotic, very complicated mechanical laser device. Anyway, I left Ampex, I left the CIA project, and went to work for this company called Precision Instruments, and I was the VP of software. And as VP of software, I was in charge of building the software to run this rather exotic device. But lo and behold, we needed more software than our little company could actually write. And we decided to do some of the software in-house, the device drivers for this exotic laser storage device. But we also decided to contract out some of the software for that laser device. So there was going to be a competitive bid to see who was going to write the database software for this Precision Instrument Company mass storage device. And I was working at PI as VP of software. I thought, well, I know a great guy who should be bidding on this thing. And I talked to the president of the company. I said, I know this guy, Bob Miner, and he's a fantastic programmer. He's working at our competitor. He's my boss over at Ampex. And wouldn't it be great if he got together a few of the other key guys over at Ampex, kind of stole their best engineers, and all this accumulated knowledge, and Bob was kind of a super programmer, and he could bring that team over and bid on this project, this database project that we're doing at PI, at Precision Instrument Company. And the president of Precision Instrument thought that was a really good idea. It's a really terrific idea. And he said, Larry, go ahead. Do you think they'll do it? Do you think that? I said, no problem. I know these guys will quit their jobs tomorrow to bid on this project. Of course, I hadn't talked to Bob yet. So once I talked the CEO of my boss over at PI into setting this out to bid and getting this bid not from the traditional bidders, the traditional system integrators, but this cute little startup. It was actually had an internal name called the Alpha Group. Alpha male, that kind of thing. So my job was now that I talked the president of PI into sending it out to bid, was to talk Bob Miner into leaving Ampex and bidding on this contract. So Bob had a good job, and he had a family and a house in San Francisco and children, and all of those things that makes risk-taking like this a little problematic. But I decided to spend a little time with Bob trying to persuade him this was a good idea. So every night, right around dinner time, when Bob would get home from work, I'd arrive at his house in San Francisco and tell him about this incredible opportunity to start a software company. And Bob's wife, Mary, would listen to my sales pitch, if you will, me trying to talk Bob. And Mary's right in the front row. I can see her right there, laughing at me as she did then. And I go on, I'd show up 3 nights a week, right at dinner time, trying to talk Bob. And I said, Mary said, don't you have a home to go to? Why do you keep coming by here? So I said, we're having dinner. I said, I'll stay. And he said, I listen to you guys for hours and hours, and all you guys do is tell each other how great you are. And what are you doing? This is ridiculous. And she looks at Bob and said, go ahead, Bob. You do what he wants you to do. We'll all starve. And then Mary would throw me out of the house again. But eventually Bob thought about it and said, if this thing fails, so what? I can get another job tomorrow. There really is no risk in doing this. Doesn't really make any difference. First we probably won't get the contract anyway. I won't quit my job unless we get the contract. And what the hell? On my PI job, as VP of R&D, I wrote the spec for this database system that Bob bid on. Unfortunately, they didn't tell me what the other bidders were, amounts were. I mean, my boss was smart enough to not let me in on all the bids. I could work on the bid with Bob, and I could work on the spec, but I couldn't see what the other bids were. Anyway, we bid. The spec was written. I wrote the spec. We responded with a proposal. We bid $300,000. We won easily because the next low bid was $2 million. Bob looked at me and said, "This is not a good start. You're an idiot." You see, I picked the 300,000 number wanting to get this deal. Anyone in sales understands that. You want to get this deal done. So we won the bid at $300,000, and we started a company. Well, I shouldn't say we started a company. Bob started a company. Bob hired Ed Oates and Bruce Scott, but not me. I was too expensive, I guess, because I was a VP of R&D. I guess I wanted more. I wanted more money. Anyway, we couldn't afford to hire more than 3 people. We wanted to have 3 full-time programmers. We hired Bruce Scott and Ed Oates, and we capitalized the company. We had to put some money in because we didn't get our first check from Precision Instrument Company until we delivered the first milestone. And we capitalized the company. I put in $1,200. Bob and Ed put in $800. We had $2,000 in the bank. We were sitting pretty. I'm not making this up. Let's see. Got to find my place in my notes. Soon after, Bob overlooked me in the early hiring. By the way, Bob Miner was the first president and CEO of a company that was the company that he founded, and the company was called Software Development Laboratories. And we had a very modest little office down in Silicon Valley that actually the Precision Instrument rented to us. We had 4 little offices right off the computer room. I think they'd use it for paper storage before they rented it to us. It wasn't too elegant. We had 1 window. Anyway, Bob decided he needed more help, but we needed more people, and go ahead. We started hiring. So the first person Bob hired was Stu Fagan. Oh, by the way, that's our headquarters to the left. As you can see, it's quite elegant, and our many customers would drive by and see our sign, which was not visible from the freeway, by the way. So Bob went out and started hiring. I thought I'd be the next guy hired, but I wasn't. Stu Fagan was the next guy hired. I didn't know. Hi, Stuart. I didn't know Bob was ever going to hire me. I was getting a little bit worried. So Stu Fagan was number 4. We had our 4th employee, and I was still as VP of R&D of PI, kind of running the contract that Bob and the system that Bob was building. We got several other consulting jobs. We were really doing quite well. Stuart was doing a job for Tandem. We had we had money rolling in. Our bank account was building up. In addition to the PI job, again, we had just success after success after success, doing a little bit of fixed price. At least it seemed like us. I mean, we had thousands of dollars in the bank. Stuart's shaking his head, but he's old and doesn't remember. Okay, while we were doing okay in consulting, we really didn't want to be a consulting firm. We wanted to build a product. And our initial idea for the product was we wanted to be a database. And we thought a database was a good idea because we looked at the mainframe marketplace. We're kind of mini computer guys. So we looked at the mainframe, not Stuart, but the rest of us. We looked at the mainframe marketplace, and we saw successful companies. We saw Cullinet, and we saw Database, Software AG. We saw that there were people out there, independent software companies. The biggest independent software companies at the time were database companies. Okay, why don't we do what they do, but let's do it for mini computers. And the original idea, very early on, which we threw away pretty quickly, very early on was to take the database I had written when I worked for Bob, that kind of IDMS clone, finish it, and sell an IDMS network database on PDP-11s, on digital equipment PDP-11s. That was the kind of the original idea. But the more we thought about it and the more we read about database technology and the latest research in database technology, the more we thought that was kind of last generation we'd be kind of late with last generation technology. There was this new research going on at IBM at the time called System R. They were building in the research labs, not for commercial use. They were building in the research labs this thing called System R that had as a part of it the SQL language. And it was the first, it was one of the first relational databases coming out of research. None of them been commercialized. There was one over at UC Berkeley called Ingress. There was System R from IBM. Tandem had one. There was a lot of work going, on these next generation database systems, and we thought, well, why not? Why don't we, the heck with this old stuff, let's kind of leapfrog everybody and build the first commercial relational database using the IBM research documents as our specification. And that's what we decided to do. And I thought since we were doing that, since we decided to do that, why didn't I kind of test the market by kind of talking to a few people that we knew and tried to sell it? I mean, we hadn't built it yet, but, we were hard at work, and how long could it take? So the guys were back in our luxurious offices, and I was out in Washington, D.C., and I was telling people about this fantastic relational database with the SQL language. And I said, the fact is, my background was programming. I didn't know anyone to go sell to except the guys I had worked with at CIA. And I said, well, why don't I just go talk to them? I mean, I know those guys. We had built this huge terabit memory system for them. It had failed totally. But, I'm sure we get it right the second time. And by the way, that project at CIA, the secret code name of that project, that TBM system at CIA was called Oracle. And because the project failed, the name was available. So I'm not a marketing guy. It's the only name I knew. So we kind of took that name. I took the one name I knew and went to the one customer I knew and showed him this brochure specification saying, this is what we're building. What do you guys think? And they said, we love this. This is great. This is really advanced technology. This is cutting edge stuff. We loved, and after several trips, we started doing some demonstrations at Central Intelligence Agency, and our first customer, Dave Roberts, actually went ahead and said, this is going to be great. It's fantastic. It runs in these little tiny mini computers. We can put this in trucks. We can put this on airplanes. We can put this in submarines, whatever. I don't know what they do with this stuff. And Dave said, we'll go ahead and buy one of these. And I couldn't believe it. I had made my first sale. I'll tell you, when a programmer makes their first sale, they're pretty excited. So I come dashing back to California and said, this is great. We have a sale. It's $48,000, which for us was like an unimaginable large number. So stop doing consulting, by the way. Kill all your consulting projects, guys. We can't do any more consulting. We've got to finish this database because I just sold one to the government. And Bob said, you what? And it's a long discussion. And I said, we can do it. We can get this thing done. And the boys went to work on finishing what we had sold to the CIA. And, it was really quite, I was quite excited. We stopped doing consulting, and of course, we immediately had to move our offices. I mean, we couldn't be housed in a place like this if we were a major government contractor to the intelligence community. Just wasn't right. We had to change, we had to start wearing suits, or at least long pants. and socks, you know, and you know, we had to change the dress code. We moved up to 3000 Sand Hill Road, the most prestigious address, the most expensive rent in Silicon Valley. We made a statement. We did. Well, it turns out there was something I was unaware of. There's a difference between someone saying, we're going to buy your product, and having the money. And it turns out Dave Roberts was completely straightforward. He did immediately start to purchase the first version of Oracle, Oracle version 2. We didn't have an Oracle version 1. Who would buy version 1 of a database from 4 guys in California? So I didn't know there were these laws governing how the government can procure things. I mean, you have to go out for competitive procurements unless you're on this thing called the GSA schedule. Anyway, it's an enormously complicated process. I had no idea what I was doing. I knew to program, and that's about it. So I didn't know about government procurement stuff. I was out selling, writing contracts. You know, I was doing a whole bunch of things that I was not qualified to do, to say the least. Anyway, it took us 9 months. It took us 9 months to get paid by the CIA. And in fact, we got several other deals. I mean, the National Security Agency said, yes, we'll buy one of those. The Foreign Technology Division at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base said, we'll take one of those. The intelligence community is very tightly knit. They said, well, this is cool stuff. This is cool stuff. Yeah, and we started getting lots and lots of orders and no money. We had expensive new place where we were living, and we had to cut back on a few things, like my salary and Bob's salary. Now, the difference between Bob and me was Bob had savings. When they cut Bob's salary, Bob simply dipped into his savings. When they cut my salary, I didn't have money to eat. Or almost no money to eat. I had credit cards. You know, someplace you can shop on credit cards. Anyway, I was building up some credit card debt, and the bank started foreclosing on my house. Not really a problem. Not really a problem. I kind of ignored these things. Keep your eye on the ball. You know, keep your eye on the prize, and don't let these little things get you down. Anyway, no one really knew about this but Bob. And Bob, you know, because Bob was the other person that wasn't getting paid. We're in 3000 Sand Hill Road. And there was this fellow, kind of upstairs kind of corner office, a venture capitalist by the name of Don Lucas, who was very curious about who all these guys were with arriving at work in cheap cars. You know, at 3000 Sand Hill Road, a cheap car is the small Mercedes. You know, we had cars he'd never seen before. And in fact, one time I was driving, by the way, what was it? RX-7. I was driving an RX-7. Don said, "You can't drive that thing. You know what? You can't take people out to lunch in that." I said, "I went to lunch alone. I didn't even know what he's talking about." But anyway, I did. The only person I drove was Kirk Bradley, who it turns out, well, I'll talk about in a minute, didn't have a car, so we went everywhere together. And we had a 2-seater car, and that was it. Anyway, Don was gracious enough to come down and say, you know, Larry, this is very, you know, you got a big opportunity here with what you're doing, the technology you're building. You shouldn't be stressed out about having your house foreclosed on and all this other stuff. And Don, as it turns out, was very, very gracious. He took over my mortgage from the bank, paid off my mortgage, and made me a loan. And for which, thank you, Don. Thank you very much. And Don later, you know, John joined our board and has been on our board ever since. Let's see. Okay, so we finally, you know, we're still not getting paid, got a lot of deals, and now we're starting to install the system. We're installing the system. And who was going to go ahead and install the system? Well, they sent me out to Central Intelligence Agency to put in the very first version of the system, do the training class, and install over at CIA. Without spending too much time on this story, it was all going extremely well. until I was leaving one of the secure, this was in a very secure computer room at CIA this thing was going in at. To give you an idea, when you go into CIA, you get a building badge. You have a necklace that you wear around your, you wear your first badge, and then as you go into other more secure areas, you keep clipping additional badges onto your first badge. Well, I had quite a daisy chain of badges, but before I got into this vault, guarded by 2 armed Marines, inside the vault was a computer, and I was installing our software. And I was carrying a disk drive in to install the software, and I had a whole bunch of listings, and I was going back and forth and back and forth. And as it turns out, I'm leaving the computer room about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and a Marine guard notices that my computer room access badge is missing. And I'm carrying a huge, these disk drives, they're big things. And I said, oh, I'm sure I just knocked this badge off back by the computer room. Let me, by the computer, let me just walk back there and get it. And then the Marine guard came and gave me a quizzical look, walk back there and get it. He's kind of weighing the proposition. When I see one of the CIA officers walking out, his name was Bob Ross, he was one of our customers. I knew Bob quite well, and I said, Bob, will you please verify, and Bob had his CIA employee badge on. Bob, will you verify that that I'm doing this work and that I'm over that I was just working with you over on the computer. And Bob Ross looks at me, looks at the guard. I've never seen this guy before in my life. Bob Ross is an idiot. Marine reaches for a sidearm, doesn't pull it out, but points at a bench and said, "Sir, sit down there immediately. We'll look for your badge." This is not good. My house is being foreclosed on. A Marine's about to shoot me. This startup stuff is not what I thought it was going to be. Anyway, they found my badge. We got it working. And eventually, we started getting paid. $48,000 from the CIA, $48,000 from the NSA. The money just kept rolling in. And, I had been doing all of these jobs, all of these crazy jobs. I was, writing contracts, keeping the books. I wasn't keeping the books on my own. I had Stuart Fagan and I were keeping the books. This was truly absurd. There was one time, and I think Stuart, I've seen a little Stuart video, but we were trying to borrow money. We had no credit rating because we were paid cash for everything. Anyway, I'm telling so many of these anecdotes, but we were trying to get a loan. We needed a credit rating. We had money in the bank, but we were trying to get a loan. And they said, well, send in your financial statements. I said, financial statements? It's that. Look at Stuart. What's a financial statement? Stuart says, I don't know what a financial statement is. Two of us completely clueless. And anyway, we kind of figured out what a financial statement was, and we looked at this thing called the P&L. Very easy to understand. Money comes in, money goes out. The difference is profit. Very simple. Then there's this thing called the balance sheet. Now, I don't know, if you're not an accountant, there's no way. Well, why does the balance sheet balance? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. There are things like stockholders' equity, retained earnings. Anyway, there are all sorts of stuff that's completely inscrutable on a balance sheet. We could not, for the life of us, figure this out. But we filled one out. I'd love to see what it looked like. We got the loan, but I have no idea. I have no idea, because we never really understood what any of these things meant. We're guessing. We're kind of looking at other people's financial statements and ours and say, maybe we'll put in this number. You know what? It's supposed to balance. That's what I call it, balance, but I have no idea what it balances. It was very interesting. These were interesting times. Anyway, as the money kept rolling in, Stuart Fagan, then, who's responsible for moving our software to an IBM, from mini computers onto an IBM mainframe, hires Kirk Bradley, who came in from Canada as part of a customer visit. So Kirk is, and Stu comes in and said, well, I don't know if those guys are going to buy anything. We got to hire this guy, Kirk Bradley. He's really good. And I said, fine, we'll hire this guy, Kirk Bradley. But he's a Canadian. I mean, can we hire a Canadian? I didn't even know it's illegal. I mean, so we talked to Kirk and said, yeah, he'd come work for us, but he's not leaving Canada. Okay, fine with me. I mean, there's no reason he can't work from Canada. And he's working from Canada, and except he has this problem. He's dialing in to our computers to do the work, and he's doing good work, except he's unfamiliar with the concept of hanging up when he's done. So he'd dial in and stay dialed in for 3 weeks. You think I'm making this up? No. He calls up and said, look, they're turning off his phone because his phone bill's like $18,000. And will we pay his bill? And I said, well, yeah, it's a little annoying. You know, you got to promise to hang up next time. But okay, if you promise to hang up next time, we'll pay your bill. Well, he promised to hang up next time, but he didn't. And he got another $18,000 bill and said, no, we're not paying your bill. So he left Canada and moved to California because he couldn't get a phone in Canada. He would have been completely isolated. Guy doesn't drive, doesn't have a phone. You know, he's going to die in a couple weeks max without any, you know. So he moves to California, and he said, Larry, is it okay if I stay with you, you know, until I find a place? I said, sure, what's the problem? A year later, he's still living with me. A guy that doesn't drive. I only have a 2-seater car. But he's really a great guy and a terrific programmer. And I just got used to driving every place. In fact, the deal we had in those days was simple. We didn't have a lot of money. He said, I would drive, he would pay for the Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's true. That's all we ate was fast food. The two of us didn't even think about cooking. By the way, the reason we were still living, it was lucky we still had a house. If it wasn't for Don paying my mortgage, neither of us would have had a place to live. Okay. Money kept rolling in, and we hired our very first salesperson, Bob Prager. And now, I'll never forget when I hired Bob, is that Bob Miner came into my office and said, what is this guy going to do? And this was a salesperson, Bob. He's going to sell. I said, is that all? That's all he's going to do? Why do we need him? Well, to sell things, you know? And he said, and he looks at me, I'll never forget it. He looks at me and said, yeah, well, it makes no sense to me, but if you want to, I'll try it. You can't make this stuff up. This is just, we had no adult supervision whatsoever. Okay, so we hire Bob Prager, and a lot of you probably say, well, I mean, Bob Prager's a good guy, but I mean, the guy you have running the field now is a fantastic guy. This Charles Phillips guy. Why didn't you immediately go out and hire him? And well, the question was, what was Charles doing back then? And I think we have a picture of Charles. You know, we could have gotten a hold of him. We got a picture of Charles. Yeah, he was in some kind of youth gang. I don't know what those colors mean, but it's scary. Turns out Charles was at the Air Force Academy, and I didn't know him, or I would have tried to talk him into quitting and going to sales. Anyway, we hire Bob Prager, who'd been working for Software AG, and Bob started selling, and that was going really well. But the person we really desperately needed, because Stuart and I, you know, we needed sales, but we had to get Stuart and I out of the accounting business. I mean, this was just treacherous stuff. I mean, the two of us, you know, I don't know who was worse. It was hard to figure out, because now several months had passed, we still didn't know what a balance sheet did. And neither of us bothered to read a book because we had other things to do. Okay, so we were all working late. And in fact, one thing Don noticed about us, and I think one of the reasons he invested in us, was the fact that we were all at that 3000 Sand Hill Road address, you know, at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. We wouldn't get there crack of dawn exactly. You know, we rolled in around noon, but we stayed very, very late. And when programmers are working late, they all do the same thing. They order pizza. And it was the summer, and the same guy delivered pizza to us every single night. This guy named John Kemp. Seemed like a very nice guy. Pizza delivery boy. Fantastic guy. And we'd chat, and he'd come in, and after a while, after we see him for the 10th time, we kind of say hello. What do you do? He said, well, I go to UC Berkeley. I said, really? It's interesting. What are you majoring in? He said, accounting. Whoa! Stuart and I look at each other. Sit down. What's retained earnings? What's goodwill? I mean, this goodwill is really strange stuff. What could that possibly be? So we talked John. So I said, John, why don't you stop being a pizza delivery boy, and instead, why don't you be our chief financial officer? And John said, I don't know, I play baseball at night, I don't know if I can do that. I mean, I'm going back to Berkeley in September. Go to UC Berkeley. Said, so why? What? That's of no value, I look at Stuart. Did you graduate? No. He went to UCLA. I didn't graduate. What's the point? Why are you doing this? Are you on the baseball team, or do you do something useful? No, I'm not on the baseball team. Well, the hell with it. Quit. And so we said, look, I'm not going to quit Berkeley, but I will go to work for you guys and do some accounting for you and kind of keep the books rather than delivering pizzas. And I said, yeah, we'll pay you a lot of money. We'll pay you a lot of money. I mean, we take what you need. We'll never know. Well, eventually, by the end of the summer, it was time to go back. It was time to go back to college, and we persuaded John, I suppose I persuaded John to quit school and stay on with Oracle. Little startup at 3000 Sand Hill Road. His father, who's a Princeton-educated attorney with one of the very fancy law firms in San Francisco, is furious with me. Furious that I talked his child into quitting school and working for this company that obviously had no future. But it actually all worked out. John's quite happy now. Eventually, John moved on and became a programmer. I wish I could tell you all the stories about John, but that would take a completely separate evening. John moved on and became a programmer in our applications division, and we hired our first accountant who actually had a degree in accounting, and that was Roy Buckstein, who's sitting right there. So we actually had someone who was properly trained in accounting, and promised he wouldn't steal from us, because we would have no way of knowing. We started hiring salespeople. We hired Gary Kennedy to open the Chicago office. Gary came to us from Bruce Scott. Bruce was, remember, one of the first 4 employees, and he knew Gary. In fact, Gary was his Mormon bishop. And Gary opened the Chicago office, but Gary was a sales guy. He was working at Intel at the time, and he needed tech support. He needed someone who could help him sell the database product. So he hired a couple of young kids, young programmers from the University of Illinois. One was named Tom Siebel, and the other was named Sohi Babasi. And the Chicago office was opened. Dave Roberts left the Central Intelligence Agency and hired Ken Jacobs and opened the Washington office. We got a distributor in Europe. It was a very funny story. Bo Ryden and Brian Cassidy come into my office, and they want to get the rights to distribute the Oracle database in Europe. And I said, well, it's cool, it's great. Why don't we go, they visited here, why don't we visit your offices in Europe? And we'll go ahead and sign this deal. I said, not necessary to come to our offices in Europe. They said, not necessary. We can get this deal done right here. You don't want to, it's time zone changes, international flights, it's such a pain in the neck. Anyway, they were trying to hide the fact that they were only a 4-person company. They were trying to hide this fact from a 7-person company. So after that little kabuki dance, we both confessed to being minuscule. We said, why not? I think we fit. We're about the same size, and they went to work. And they were both great. And our sales in Europe started taking off. We hired a distributor in the UK, Jeff Squire. We hired a head of international, John Luongo. We started our subsidiary in Oracle Japan. And I got an assistant, where I was doing all these crazy jobs, including writing my own business letters. Boy, I never got a single compliment on a business letter I wrote. No one ever said, boy, that was a great business letter, Larry. Someone said, what did you mean by, there's no subject in this letter, sentence. So I hired this assistant by the name of Jenny Overstreet. And Jenny started writing all my business letters. And the strangest thing happened, and I'm not, again, I can make this, I would get letters back from people I had written, Jenny had written business letters to, and the letters had nothing to do with the database or the sale or the prospect. Letter would say, that was the best business letter I'd ever received in my entire life. And I said, well, it's nice, but you know, it's not my business letters. It's not my business. You're going to buy the product. And I would get like 10 of these back. And again, you can't make this stuff up. Every time, I mean, she'd write these, and these are just exquisitely written letters. And I was constantly being complimented. And people would say, my God, were you an English major? And then I remember one time, Jenny I think I asked Jenny I talked to somebody on the phone, and I said, Jenny, I don't know if Jenny was taking care of some action items at the end of the call. Anyway, I passed the call back to Jenny after the call, and the guy says to Jenny, he said, Miss Overstreet, I didn't realize your boss was British. And Jenny says, oh, he's not British, he's just affected. So she would always back me up. It was fabulous business letters and proof positive I'm not British. I did come from the British side of Chicago. So we had people who knew something about accounting. We had people who could write business letters, and we had people who were starting to sell the product. And now we had to hire more programmers. And you know, there was competition. I mean, Ingress had shown up, and Ingress was being run by this guy Mike Stonebreaker out of UC Berkeley, and we were very concerned. I was very concerned. He was hiring all these bright kids out of Berkeley. So we started hiring programmers. One of the earliest programmers we hired was Bill Friend, who built the first Oracle form system. I don't know, that's still around today. The first version of that was written by Bill Friend. Robert Bradbury was responsible for moving our database to different computer systems. And Robert was a consultant to us. And Robert had actually flunked out of Harvard, which is almost impossible. It's very hard to get into Harvard, but it's much harder to flunk out of Harvard as an undergraduate. And I think he'd just simply not gone to class for several years, and they finally pitched him out saying he was just always at the computer center programming, and they told him it was cheaper to buy a computer than his parents continued to pay Harvard tuition if he wasn't going to ever go to class. Anyway, Robert really was thrown out of Harvard. And Robert was working for us, and he introduced us to this guy, Forrest Howard, who he had met at Harvard, who introduced us to Derry Cabsonell. And the two of them had been working together at Xerox PARC. And we began to really rebuild our programming team with these extraordinary people. There was a startup in Silicon Valley building a relational database. And that startup had Roger Bamford and Andy Mendelsohn in it. And that startup faltered a bit. And we hired Roger and we hired Andy. And we're getting better and better people into our engineering teams. We went public. We went public and we did a secondary. And I met Safra Katz, who was on the team from Donaldson, Lufkin, Jenrette when we did our secondary. This picture of Safra it was when she was in high school, which is why we didn't hire her as CFO. It was between her and John Kemp, actually. And the problem was she had been a waitress. John had been a pizza delivery boy. Both involved handling money. It was really a tough decision. But John had a car and a driver's license, and Safra didn't. So we went with John as the accounting instead of Safra. So we really didn't get a chance to meet Safra till she had made it all the way through school and into DLJ and was part of the team that did our secondary offering with DLJ. And a young stock market analyst started following us immediately after we went public. And that young stock market analyst worked for Morgan Stanley, and his name was Charles Phillips. And Charles and I met several times, as Charles was always very bullish on Oracle. He's a very brave guy. You could tell by his uniform. He was an extremely brave guy. Well, we doubled in 10 of our next 11 years. Our sales doubled and doubled and doubled again and doubled again. And things were going really well. And we started a college recruiting program. We were very afraid of Ingress having all these bright kids from Berkeley, so we started recruiting kids from MIT and Harvard and Caltech and CMU, and we had this guy named Larry Lynn in charge of all of this. And he had unusual recruiting techniques, but it worked. And Larry did a great job. I think the first person we hired was Alan Wiersbud out of MIT. And one guy I'll never forget, one of the recruiters, and I would meet all these guys, Evan Goldberg, Ron Wall, I meet all of these people come in out of the college recruit. Ron Wall is an interesting story because Ron came in and said he had a degree, he was a Baker Scholar with a degree in physics from Harvard, which was all true. But what he did not tell us, we also had a Harvard MBA, would have disqualified him immediately for a job at Oracle. But he kept that confidential and got the job. It was well known we didn't want any MBAs. It was an MBA-free zone. That's only half. I'm only half kidding. That's true. Ron never told me. In fact, I found out 5 years later that Ron said, "Do you have an MBA from?" I said, "Yes." Got it. But I thought I just wouldn't mention it. And so we started hiring all these kids. One of the most interesting stories was this kid we hired from CMU, from Carnegie Mellon. His name is Ed Screven. And again, I'd met virtually everybody and talked to virtually everybody in these, because there's nothing. We are our people. There is nothing more important. I mean, that's our assets. You know, the line. Our assets get in cars and go home every night. So hiring these people was absolutely critical. I thought it was one of the most important, if not the most important thing I did. So I met all of these kids. And I mean, I remember one year we hired 9 of the top 10 Harvard grads. And in fact, Harvard was so suspicious. Harvard does not list their rankings. It's a secret. They have rankings, but they don't list them. And they said, I remember they called me and said, "How did you hire 9 of our top 10 grads?" And I said, "It's really very easy. We hired your top math grad, and we asked them who the other smart people were." They thought we'd hacked into their computer system, which was a good idea. But we hadn't thought of it. Anyway, Ed Screven was one of the guys we had hired in what was called our Class Of program, as we brought in all these very, very bright kids as the company grew and grew and grew. And Ed gives me a call, I would say it was in June, just when all the kids were graduating. And right after the graduation, they would come to work for Oracle and go through what was called boot camp. And Ed called me and said, I can see Ed right now. Ed is now our chief architect. Ed calls and says, "Well, I just thought I'd tell you that I've dropped out of school." "It's the last week of your senior year and you dropped out of school?" I said, yeah. I said, "Well, it's none of my business." "But why?" "Well, without disclosing a lot of stuff, I had a fight with my girlfriend. I broke up with my girlfriend. My parents are mad at me. I'm sick of all of it. So screw it." I think about this. Dropped out of school his last week, he said. I finally, long pause, I said, "Look, it's very cool you dropped out in your last week, but if you think we're going to offer you more money as a result, you're dreaming." "Forget it." And he said, "The job offer still stands?" I said, "Well, you think we care whether you have a degree? What do you, I mean, but you're not getting more money. You're not getting more money. The offer is unchanged." And he was a little stunned. I mean, I thought, who are these people that I'm going to work for? You know, a little peculiar. True story. So Ed is now our chief architect. Oracle was getting larger and larger, and boy, did we work hard. You know, the lights were still on at midnight, 1 o'clock. In fact, Oracle people were marrying Oracle people. Kirk married Jenny, and one of our super programmers, Farzad Nazem, who became the chief technology officer at Yahoo, married Nasheen Hashemi. I knew why. They both worked till 3 o'clock in the morning. They didn't know anybody else. They'd never met anyone but each other. And this was happening a lot. We were having Oracle families, Oracle babies. We were getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and everything was great. And then there was the recession in 1991. I remember being asked, well, do you think this recession will affect you? I kind of looked around. Got to remember, if Stuart was there, I would have said, what's a recession? Recession? No idea what it is. And I said, no, we're fine. We double every year. That's never going to stop. Well, it stopped. And we had our first ever loss quarter in 1991, and it was a disaster. I had driven the company into a brick wall at about 150 miles an hour, and we had our first and only loss quarter in 1991, and it was a disaster. Our then chief financial officer came up to me and said, I doubt if Oracle can continue as a going concern. What that means in accounting speak is we're going out of business. The things are so bad, we're going out of business. I thought things were extremely bad, but not that bad. I didn't think we were going broke. But a lot of things had to change. One of the things I hope wouldn't change is I hope I wouldn't lose my job. I realized that this was not a good situation. Don, please don't fire me. So just yet another reason why I'm so indebted to Don Lucas. He didn't fire me in 1991. I said, give me a second chance. I now know what a recession is. I'm getting smarter every day. And he said, okay, but this time I want a real chief financial officer. And that was part of the deal. I had to bring in a real chief financial officer, and we hired Jeff Henley. And we had to... And we had to really revamp. A lot of people left. Tom Siebel left the company. A lot of people thought that Oracle's best days were behind them. Tom left really for very green pastures. He started Siebel Systems, which was a brilliant success. A number of people left the company, and a number of brilliant people came in to take their place. I went to the top recruiter, John Thompson, in Silicon Valley, and said, okay, who is the best field guy in the United States? Who's the best guy I can hire to run field consulting and field sales? And said, it's easy, it's Ray Lane. And he said, but you'll never get him. I said, we'll never get him? He said, you just tell me who he is, we'll get him. At least we'll try. And persuaded Ray to come out and talk to us. And after a long, long discussion, he decided, I think, that there was a better chance of changing the world by working at Oracle than doing what he was doing, continued running consulting at Booz. And Ray joined us and brought along with him Robert Shaw and a number of brilliant consultants, and Oracle was on to the next stage of its life. And we recovered. We recovered, and Ray and Robert, along with Jay Nussbaum and a number of other talented people, Jeff Henley, helped Oracle recover and move on to the next phase in its 30-year life. And we delivered this product called Oracle version 7. And Oracle version 7 was really, really good. I remember Jay Nussbaum said, a dog with a note in its mouth can sell Oracle version 7. Now, I knew that wasn't true. Selling is just hard. But it was a sign that we had, Oracle version 6 had a problem. It didn't work very well. Oracle version 5 was terrific. Oracle version 6 was a complete rewrite of about half the database. We put in a number of exotic features, including what's now known as real application clusters. Really, the foundation of real application clusters went in Oracle version 6. It really was computer science as much as it was development. And it was very risky, and we had some reliability problems early on with Oracle version 6. Oracle version 7 was a fantastic product and swept away the competition. Version 5 demolished Ingress, and version 7 demolished Sybase. And our new team helped Oracle grow and grow and grow. They built the company to Ray and Jeff and that team to over $10 billion with over 100,000 customers. It was amazing. And things were looking astonishingly great. And then came the bubble, and it looked even brighter and greater, and then the bubble burst. And once again, we had to retrench. And this time it wasn't for a quarter. This time it was for a few years. The technology business had grown larger than it should have been. Over half of capital that was spent in the United States was spent buying technology. Technology wasn't supposed to be that large a percentage of the economy. The internet changed everything, but not that much. And after the bubble burst came another management team, the management team you're all familiar with today. Safra Katz, our current CFO and president, Charles Phillips, Keith Block, Sergio Giacoletto, Derek Williams. Chuck Rosewat, who runs all of engineering, came to us as a part of our very first acquisition when we bought RDB from Digital Equipment Corporation. That acquisition worked so well, we decided to do some more. Derek Williams, Sergio Giacoletto, Keith Block, Luis Meisler, and Jürgen Rottler, the current management team, who have taken Oracle into its 30th year, where our sales are now over $20 billion, and we have 300,000 customers. Now, I've mentioned very few customer names tonight. I mentioned the CIA and NSA and FTD, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and a couple of others. But the reason I've mentioned so few is because there are simply too many to mention by name, 300,000 of you. Without you, we quite literally would be nothing. We wouldn't exist. There would be no Oracle Corporation. And while this night is dedicated to Bob Miner, the rest of the week is dedicated to you, our customers. Thank you very much.
Earl Cole Security Station, Condor, 1123. All is clear. All is clear. Nothing to report. Nothing to
Approaching
report.
target entry point. The cake is in the box. I repeat, the cake is in the box.
Good morning. Can I help you with something?
I'm Agent Smith, and this is Agent Smythe. We're with the CIA, and we brought a few gifts to celebrate this special day.
Tuesday, huh? The CIA celebrates Tuesdays? Gee, and I didn't get you something.
You cracking wise, son? You won't go with Langley?
Okay, hold on. We have an anniversary here. 30 years ago, Oracle installed the first high-security information system for the CIA. Mm-hmm. We got you a card, and it's signed by everybody at Langley.
It's blank.
Invisible ink.
Yeah. The operation was called Project Oracle, and that's how you got your name. It's all here written on the cake.
There's nothing on the cake.
Invisible frosting.
Ooh, is that buttercream?
I could neither confirm or deny that.
Actually, this is all really nice, so thanks for the stuff. Why don't you just leave it with us?
No, we have orders to give it directly to Larry.
You think that's funny, son? Huh?
Look, no offense, but, even if I wanted to let you in, I couldn't, okay? That cake would have to be completely debriefed. We'd have to check it for viruses, Trojan horses, and this would take weeks, okay? This is a secure building right here.
Secure building? You call this secure? Oh, that is adorable. Oh, I'm secure.
Now listen, buddy, we wrote the book on security, okay? We wrote your book on security.
Son, you couldn't wipe our memories with your security.
Hey, come on. If it wasn't for Oracle, we'd still be typing stuff in triplicate and sending it by carrier pigeon. So,
Fine, but you better promise to get the cake and card to Larry.
As soon as it's checked properly, okay? According to protocol.
Okay, fine. We'll be on our way. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
You know, I'm kind of depressed. I was up all night baking that cake. You know how hard it is to whip up egg whites?
That's why I had you do it.
Yeah. It's not easy.
Are we really going to give this to Larry?
Are they really going to catch Bin Laden? Johnson, get the plates. Stevens, some milk.
All right.
We need some forks down here, Station Condor. All right? Let's get it on napkins, too.
I work various hours and come in on the weekends or come in maybe at night to pick up some papers or whatever. And the lights of this one office were on all the time. And so just out of total curiosity, I went in and I said, "What do you folks do?" And it was, software. And I said, "What's that?"
We needed a new computer, and that was going to need $50,000. We didn't have $50,000. So Larry went and talked to the Bank of America and arranged to get a loan. They gave us some forms to fill out, and one of the forms was they wanted a balance sheet from the company. And Larry and I sat down in our conference room and tried to figure out what a balance sheet was. Neither of us had a clue what a balance sheet was. We were able to find some annual reports from a couple of other companies, some real companies. We looked at what a balance sheet appeared to be, and we guessed at some numbers. We were trying to be honest as we could about it, but we made up a balance sheet, and we turned it in, and we got the loan.
Where was it?
It was in Santa Clara.
Okay.
It was on 2325 Owen Street, something like that. And one of these was called tilt-ups, concrete tilt-ups. The walls get pushed up. Yeah. And we rented a little spot in the front of it, 900 square feet. People would come and they try to find us. Couldn't find us, so we said, we have to have a sign. So one day, Larry gets some cardboard paper, black felt marker, and writes SDL 2325. Wrote it down, stakes
in one blow
in front of the building. That was it. That was our first sign.
You got to focus on what's right, what's important, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President and CFO Safra Catz.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for being here. It's great to see you all and be able to share with you, really, our pretty humble beginnings. And the reality is that we actually believe that with humble beginnings, with the right help, you can get there, and many of you are why we got here. And since we really are here with really family and friends, we wanted to talk about something we don't usually talk about, and that is some of the work we can do in our communities because we are where we are, and share with you what we've been doing for the last, well, if not 30 years, for the past 20. And for that, I'm going to ask Claire Dolan, who's our Vice President of our corporate responsibility efforts, and to share with you a little bit about the important works that we do either in our communities or in education around the world. Hey, Claire.
Hi. So we philanthropically support a number of causes, but education tops the list. And we run 3 education programs that today are supporting 682,000 students each year in 83 countries. It's critical that we think it's critical that we support the next generation, not only to ensure that there's a vital workforce in the future that's continuing to drive innovation, but also to alleviate the digital divide that so many still deal with.
Well, how do the 3 programs work? Tell us a little bit about them so that everyone can understand really some of the things we're doing.
The first one's called the Oracle Academy, and through the Oracle Academy, we grant hundreds of millions of dollars of software, curriculum, faculty training, and certification resources to universities and high schools. And the goal is to make these resources available so that students are graduating into the workforce with marketable, industry-relevant skills. The additional 2 programs that we run through our foundation, which is called the Oracle Education Foundation. The first of the two is called Think.com. And Think.com is a safe, fun, engaging space where today 300,000 K-12 students are collaborating, building knowledge together, and participating in learning projects together. The third program is a program called ThinkQuest, and that's also run through the foundation. It's a very famous, highly acclaimed project learning competition where kids get together and they select a subject that's of interest and global importance, and they build a website about this subject to educate others. In the process of that, they're using the skills that we use every day in our work, communication skills, collaborative skills, critical thinking skills, and of course, technology skills. Now, through ThinkQuest, students ages 9 to 19 participate in age-appropriate levels. We have a video here that shows you the experience of one of our ThinkQuest teams. They showed us a little bit about the digital divide. They're going to share what they learned with you here tonight and reflect upon you their experience in ThinkQuest. As you see it, bear in mind that these are 17-year-olds who won previously, but students as young as 12, even down to 10, are participating in this competition and achieving extraordinary things.
With information comes opportunity. Opportunity to transform individual lives, households, communities, even entire nations. Without the power of information, hope is lost. Overcoming this challenge means, in part, defeating the E-divide.
E-divide means a lot more than what people generally think it does. It's not just whether people have computers, which is a common misconception.
The E-divide, I think, is an important issue because there is still parts of the world where people don't have access to computers and the internet, and they don't get an equal opportunity.
It means that they can't access to information as quickly, and so they will be disadvantaged. And it's important for people to know, especially people who have good access to internet, that there are other people out there that are not as lucky as them.
In large part because of digital access to information about the world around them, young people today have a social awareness like never before. Consider the experience of the E-divide team. First place winners for 19 and under in ThinkQuest 2006, the Oracle Education Foundation's international website building competition.
It's just the idea that we can have friends all over the world, on the 5 different continents, and we can meet online and we can talk to each other and get to know each other so well. It definitely makes it a lot smaller.
There were 6 of us all together. I wrote a lot of the content for the site. There was Knock from Australia. We did this survey of students in the US and in Vietnam, and she did the statistical analysis for that. Viet An from Vietnam did a lot of the flash animations. Jasmine from India and Herbin from the Netherlands did the web design. And Loe from Egypt did the French translation.
This global collaboration exemplifies ThinkQuest. ThinkQuest inspires students to think, connect, create, and share. By tackling E-divide as a topic, the team was able to rely on its diversity to dig deep and gain a global perspective about the issues.
I experienced the E-divide while I lived in Ireland. We lived in the country, and we were the first house in the whole area to get internet.
The divide really exists. It's not some imaginary thing that we talk about.
So people who are behind right now, it seems like they're going to be falling even more behind more rapidly. So will they ever catch up? Hopefully.
The resources are available to solve the problem.
I have a very great team.
It's absolutely an experience I will never forget.
Well, Claire, obviously that's very powerful, and thank you, and thank you all for letting us be part of changing these kids' lives.
Yeah. Education isn't the only place where we devote our philanthropic efforts. Our 74,000 employees have an immense amount of energy and talent, and they share that through volunteering in the communities where we do business. Oracle volunteers and supports 1,600 nonprofit organizations in 37 countries today. And we want to show you another video that gives you a feeling for how we do this and the contributions we're making.
Oracle employees are willing to do more, give more, and go further. Each year, thousands of Oracle employees share their time and talents with those in need. Their efforts include installing computer equipment in schools, teaching computer skills, serving as mentors to at-risk students, building houses with Habitat for Humanity, preserving the environment, sponsoring food drives for low-income working families, partnering with the Golden State Warriors to serve at-risk youth in Oakland, beautifying cities and parks, Oracle has been honored by the prestigious Points of Light Foundation for its exemplary commitment to volunteerism. And in 2007 alone, Oracle employees have donated over 26,000 volunteer hours to nonprofit organizations around the world.
Thank you all. The educational work we do, the volunteer work we do, is without a doubt some of the most rewarding work that we get a chance to do. And I just want to thank you again for all making it possible. I want to change a little bit and on a slightly lighter note, talk to you about what you've all been reading about in the paper all the past few years. As you may know, some people have noted that we're on a little bit of a shopping spree in the past few years. So we're going to share with you an inside view of what it might feel like when Oracle comes knocking on a company's door.
All right, they've taken over PeopleSoft, Global Logistics, Papa John's Pizza. Who's next? We're next. That's who's next. We are in Oracle's crosshairs.
I don't want to work for some megalithic company.
I hear our stock will go through the roof.
Oh, hi.
Come on, what's your soul worth, friend?
Oh, no.
Oracle's coming!
Oracle's coming! Oracle's coming! Oracle's coming!
It's okay. Take it easy. Bring down the blast doors, close campus, isolate mainframe. Johnson, where the hell are the freeze-dried supplies? This is going to be a long one.
I've never been so scared. Oracle's here. It's really happening. Hold me. Hold me.
Oh, I'm not holding you. You stink.
Emmett Johnson, that's your cube mate. Hold him. Take off a stupid gas mask. They never used tear gas in the first offer.
You know, I'm sorry, but I don't know what we're so afraid of. I mean, I hear really good things about Oracle, and, you know, if they want us, it must mean that we have a darn fine product, and their stocks keep going up, and they just had one of the best quarters in a decade, and I hear they have a great gym. I, for one, am tired of eating ramen noodles, and I really like the color red.
You are a traitor. You are off my MySpace. You're out of my 5.
But I hear they have a great gym, and they have indoor golf.
Oh, I love indoor golf, apart from the ricochets.
Oh, et tu, Kevin?
Yeah. I hear everybody gets their own fighter jet. Is that true?
Oh, that's a lie. Only their boss has a fighter jet.
Do you have a fighter jet?
You have a Prius. Just saying.
Listen, guys, I heard they've got more than one girl over there.
Oh, fine. You want to drink the Kool-Aid? You want to plug into the Matrix? Go ahead. I'm better off without you.
Sounds good to me. Later, NEO. Take me Oracle. Yeah. Woo!
You know, you could probably get that Herman Miller Aaron chair you've always wanted.
Can I get a pony?
You can get whatever you want. We're probably going to be rich.
I want a pony.
Okay.
How many can I get?
As many as you... You know, you smell like ramen noodles and Skittles.
It's not very nice.
It was the first anniversary. Bruce Scott's wife said, I'm baking a cake. So she brought in this cake. Said Oracle had a #1 on it or something like that. So we all stood around and she took her picture. We all kind of started the high sugar tradition that we have around Oracle. Of just, you know, we scarfed the cake was gone, and we're back to work again.
Now, at the time, I was doing all the accounting work as well. So I took all the receipts and I threw them into a cardboard box, which I thought someday I would hire a bookkeeper and they would get through it. But years later, I got a call from the accounting department saying they would like to put the books in order back to the first day, and they can't find any books of the first 2 years. So I told them, well, I've got this cardboard box. And they were able to put the company records together all the way back to the first day on all these little bits and pieces of paper I had saved.
Here's a trivia question for you. What's pound, pound, $pound?
It's pound, ampersand, up arrow, S.
I remember pound, pound, $pound.
Well, there was that, but there was a pound, ampersand, up arrow, S, which is the secret password. And it stood for pound, sand, up your S.
I never knew about that one.
Which is pretty close to Bob's other line, which is K-Mab Yo-Yo.
Oh, yes.
Which was Kiss My Ass, Buddy, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's definitely a night to tell stories and to talk about where we came from. We're going to talk a little bit about where we are today. And, you know, this whole show is really a collaboration with us, our partners, and our customers. And so tonight's band is actually a collaboration of Oracle folks and our customer folks. Tonight we have Gear Driver, which is actually led by our Senior Vice President of Alliances. Wouldn't it make sense? So with that, Gear Driver.
Names that you recognize.
been where I'm coming from. All the cats from the old school, all the cats from the neighborhood. Leave your problems at the door. You can't bring me down when I'm feeling good. Oracle, always rock. Oracle, always rock. Doesn't matter the time of day, doesn't matter the season. Don't need a special occasion, we're just looking for a reason. Light it up and pull out the stops, make the scene like we own the place. And if the radio won't play my song, gonna crank it up anyway. Oracle, always rock. Oracle, always rock. Am I doing here? Hanging out with some unknown band, a bunch of people from everywhere. The unanswerable question is the unquestionable answer, and even the uptight squares are getting their freak on, man. Oracle, always rock. 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 Oracle, always rock.
I remember when I was having Caitlin, and somebody said to me, well, why don't you go to HR and find out what the maternity policy is? So I went to HR and I said, I just wanted to find out what, Oracle's maternity policy is. And they said, well, what would you like it to be? A few days after Caitlin was born, Craig Conway calls me and he says, hey, congratulations on having a baby, but I have 2 sales managers that need to be interviewed. Instead of coming into the office, I'm just going to send them over to your house. It was just the way it was. I mean, you did what you did and you made up the things as you went along.
We met Larry, who was in his office with his feet propped up on a desk in jeans and cowboy boots, and he had a big hole in the sole of the cowboy boots. And I thought, these guys are not rich. But we loved these guys immediately because they were super smart guys, and we knew the relational database thing was brilliant.
There were some struggling times. There were times when we didn't have enough money to pay all the bills. There were weeks I had to avoid the landlord, a guy named Tom Ford, who owned 3000 Sand Hill Road, which is where our office was then. Later on, Tom Ford started buying Oracle stock. He bought some from me, as a matter of fact. I kept thinking I should get some kind of legal statement from him, understanding that he was an idiot and he was buying something that was completely worthless, because I was afraid he'd come back and sue me for having bought that stuff. But it turns out he made a fortune on Oracle stock. He did very, very well. And so I don't feel so bad that I was a little late with the rent a few times.
And now, Oracle Open World Update with Judy Sim and Kevin Nealon.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Judy Sim.
And I'm Kevin Nealon, here with Oracle Open World Weekend Update. Well, the iPhone made its European debut this week, but the French don't like it. Apparently, it's shaped too much like deodorant. Judy?
China has a new research institute to study and produce hybrid cars. China's hybrids are a little different, though. They run on leaded toys.
That's too bad. That's a shame.
In our top story today, though, San Francisco is rocked by the return of Oracle Open World, the largest conference focused on enterprise software.
It's huge, Judy. It's huge.
Absolutely. Citizens are flocking to Moscone Center to witness the arrival of over 43,000 Oracle devotees.
Yeah, that's a lot of devotees right there. And in related news, Oracle Open World got off to a shaky start when Larry Ellison discovered a mysterious package on his doorstep postmarked Santa Clara with a strange label from Alfred Chung.
Oracle Open World is focused on networking and on education. Customers and partners get the opportunity to hear directly from a network of Oracle experts and really from each other. Just looking at the numbers, Kevin, this show is just gigantic.
Oh, it's huge, Judy. I said that before. It's big.
We've got 1,625 education sessions, over 600 different demo products. But really, check out all of these stats also. There's over 73,000 hotel rooms coming from attendees representing 124 different countries.
124. I did not even know there were that many countries, Judy. I did not know that.
187 shuttle buses, 60,144 chairs. I counted myself.
Wow.
The setup crew put in over 45,000 hours, and I'm told that there's an average of 8.4 miles walked each day by the Open World staff.
That's a lot of figures, Judy. And what does that total, all those figures? We'll have to figure that out sometime. Yes, this conference is so huge. It's such a huge enterprise. My airport driver was actually from Blackwater, USA. Yeah.
Predictions came in early that Moscone Center would be a zoo this week, but I got a chance to sit down with Tanya Wydick, who's the vice president. She's in charge of events marketing for Oracle, and she explained to me how it is that they make all of this work.
And how is that? How does that work?
Oracle's actually built specialized programs for over 20 different industries. There are also programs for each one of the lines of businesses and even tracks for the customers of the newly acquired products.
They got it all pretty much covered.
We've got it covered.
Yeah. Can you give me an example?
If you're a developer, you'd be going to the Oracle Develop program on Monday and Tuesday.
That's right.
This year, they've got over 100 sessions with Thomas Kurian and the famous Tom Kite delivering the keynotes.
I love Tom Kite. He's a great professional golfer. I love him. No, he's great. He's great. I'm glad he's involved in some other things. And I see you also have some Indians attending. But why just the Apaches? Did you not get the Cherokee or the Sioux or some of the other tribes not available? Not willing to be balked? What's going on?
Hyperion, J.D. Edwards, and the Agile tracks are just some of the other special programs that we want to highlight this week.
Okay, I get it. So it's kind of like when I went to college, at least the one year I went. The school was pretty big, and I was a theater major, so I hung out with mostly theater students and had a lot of classes about theater. Am I on the same page with you here now?
Kevin, I can see that you're obviously very well schooled. In other headlines today, Oracle Open World launches a new program called the Unconference.
And Judy, what is an unconference? Is that like a staff meeting where the VP of Sales talks about systems and the VP of Systems talks about sales and nothing gets accomplished?
No, Kevin, it's actually a lot better than that. An unconference, it's a collaborative format for user-run sessions.
Okay.
So they've got whiteboards available for the attendees to fill out the different topics they want to discuss, and ad hoc, different meetings and discussions happen based on that list.
Okay, I wasn't really paying attention, but okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Oracle helps out by providing some of the experts from the development organization, and the whole idea is that the attendees, they can drive the discussions themselves, and the users really benefit from those shared experiences.
Sounds pretty cool. Sounds pretty cool. But what's a no-slide zone? Is that like if you're in a certain area and I say something off color, you won't let me slide with it?
No, it's actually no PowerPoint slides. So this is a part of the Unconference, and these are sessions that are designated to not have any PowerPoint.
No PowerPoint slides.
No PowerPoint slides at all. I know this is going to be a popular
That's good.
part.
That's good. Are we showing PowerPoint slides now?
No, these are different.
Okay, okay. Okay, good to know. Good to
So
know.
these are technology and the middleware developers, and it's going to be sessions on different topics. We're going
Okay.
to set them up, but really there's nothing else with it. They're going to be free form, so I think there's going to be things like virtual whiteboarding and some fun technical challenges, and of course lots of opportunities for the audience to be able to personally interact.
Yeah, well, it sounds like everyone should slide over to the Yerba Buena Theater and check out some of that.
Absolutely, that's where they're at.
Yeah. Oh, what happened? We're in the dark here, Judy.
Oh, no, Kevin, don't worry, we've got you. That was just my special effect to highlight a program that we're calling After Dark. We know that in the evenings, the attendees need to go out, they want to eat, and they want to be able to
Sure.
socialize a little bit in the city of San Francisco.
Yeah, why not? Who doesn't? They got some great restaurants here.
So the Open World team, they tried to make it easier. They went out and they negotiated for some discounts. All you need to do at many of the restaurants and the retailers in the city is be able to show your badge, and you'll be able to get a discount and continue those conversations that you started earlier in the day.
Nice. And will that work with my badge?
Yes, Kevin, actually, your badge will work. You'll get the discount with that, too.
Now, what about Costco? Will it work there?
I don't think it
You
works
don't
at
think
Costco.
so? Okay, good to know. Good to know. That's all I want to know. Okay, so what are you doing after dark later, Judy? No, I was just curious, because I could plan something for after dark.
What are you doing after dark?
What are you doing after dark? You're Belinda. You know, we've got some other news here, Judy. Due to global warming, the polar bear contingent coming to the Oracle Open World will be delayed, unfortunately.
So, Kevin, that must be why Oracle Open World is going green.
That's exactly correct, Judy. That's
The
exactly
whole
right.
goal is simple. We wanted to be able to reduce the impact that we have on the environment, and there's some examples of what we've been doing. The agenda, show guide, and directory this year, we printed it on recycled paper, and we only printed half as much. We wanted to ask the attendees, when you're registering, to please also take it on a memory stick instead of having to take the paper with you. So this is one of the things that we were doing.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's got a good weight to it. Pretty hefty. I think recycling is very good. I had a girlfriend that turned out to be recyclable. Yeah. It's too bad. It's too bad.
We don't have recycle bins for girlfriends, but we do have lots of recycle bins throughout the show. We've got over 200 of them. You can recycle those badges that you have, or even actually older electronics if you have it. But there's more that we're doing as well. So at the show, if you're going to the demo grounds and you're looking for product literature, data sheets, and things like that, we actually have a virtual collateral area where you can take a memory stick and download the collateral directly, or you can go ahead and email it to yourself.
Virtual collateral area.
Absolutely.
VCA? VCA you're
There's
talking about.
There's a new acronym. We were trying to avoid the acronym,
VCA. Let
Kevin.
me put that down
but-
there. I'm going to call it VUCA.
The
VUCA. Tell me more about the VUCA.
Sorry, Safra, I was trying no acronyms. The other thing that we're doing, too, is we're taking a lot of the materials for the signs and for the tents, and we're putting them into the conference bags. So if you
Okay.
go to the Oracle store, if you buy it online, we've partnered with Timbuktu, which is the popular messenger bag, and you can actually buy a bag that's made out of those recycled products.
Interesting, interesting. Judy, in other news, Britney Spears today was told that she could visit her children if she submitted to random drug testing. And she replied and said, go ahead. I've never taken the drug random. So, you know, there's some bright things happening out there, aside from the recycling.
It's good to know.
Judy, back to you.
So there's a lot of luminaries that are here at Oracle Open World, and I think this is really the one place where you can go to be able to hear not just Larry Ellison, but all of the industry luminaries from our partnering companies as well. We've got a really packed schedule, and we encourage everyone to be a part of the keynotes, which will take place here in this room this week.
Yeah, and Judy, the latest version of Google Earth has just been released, and its main feature is that you only get information about Oracle Open World.
It was designed that way by the marketing team.
Yeah, yeah.
Oracle is everywhere in the city of San Francisco, but to be able to help you navigate through the show, we wanted to just give everyone a quick map. So the first one is that we're right now here in Moscone North, and this is the room for all of the keynotes. If you go to Moscone South or Moscone West, that's where the exhibit show floor is located. And this year, we put the demo grounds area into both of those. We also have the Yerba Buena Theater. It's right next door.
Yerba Buena. No, Yerba Buena. What am I? Yerba Buena.
That's the no slide zone area that we were talking about earlier.
Correct.
And then we also have 5 other hotel convention centers for all of the special programs.
Now, this apparently used to be an Italian restaurant. Is that what I heard, the Moscone Center?
I did hear that as well. I don't think it's here anymore, though.
No. But I did smell some garlic bread in the back, but maybe that would have been from somebody else's dinner.
So in entertainment news, Oracle has announced that it's their 30-year anniversary. And as
I'm
a
sorry,
result,
did you say 30?
30 years.
30 years they've been together.
Absolutely.
Wow, I'm going to write that
That's
down.
a large number.
30 years.
So we're going to throw the biggest and the best party ever on Wednesday night. We've chosen 3 different performers, each with careers that span 3 decades.
Wow.
30 years.
Nice.
Our first performer is Billy Joel.
Oh, yes. Yes. Favorite song of Billy Joel's?
Piano Man, of course.
Piano Man. Me, The Long and Winding Road.
Then we've got Stevie Nicks, who will be joined by Mick Fleetwood.
Yes, from the Monkees. Yeah, I love them. Love the Monkees.
And finally, Lenny Kravitz. It
Lenny
should be
Kravitz.
a really rockin' party.
Yes, Kravitz. That was Kravitz was the neighbor on Bewitched, wasn't it? Lenny Kravitz? Was that him?
I think that was
Should have been him. That would have been funny. Lenny Kravitz, neighbor on Bewitched. I'm going to write that down. Judy, what else you got? Am I going to get a pass or not?
Kevin, we talked about it backstage. The passes to the party are for the full conference attendees.
And I am not a full conference attendee. Okay. All right. Good to know. Good to know. All right. Victoria's out in our field right now. Victoria, are you there?
I'm here, Kevin.
All right. Take it easy.
I'm very excited. There's a lot of people.
What's going on?
Well, one lucky person is going to win the VIP treatment for the big party on Wednesday.
Oh, excellent. Oh, who's going to be that lucky
Get
person?
to hang out with Billy Joel and everything.
Wow.
Who is it?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. They told me whoever the special light lands on, so.
A spotlight will land on that person.
Yes, there they are, right him right there.
Where?
You. Congratulations. Oh, I'm supposed to ask you, what's your name, sir? Oh, and you're allowed to bring a date. Is this your date? No, is it your date? Oh, okay. What's your name, sir?
Arun Agrawal.
Congratulations, Mr. Agroro. Thank you.
That's exciting. That is so exciting. I am so happy to hear that. I hope that Adil Ladabu does not change his life with something like that, because a lot of times people win something like that and changes their life. And with Adil Ladabu, I hope he keeps his job, and I hope he doesn't go out and buy a lot of crazy stuff with that. Judy?
So to round out our entertainment news, immediately following this event here, Oracle welcomes its full conference attendees to a reception. It's being held out on Howard Street, right at the top of the escalators, as well as in the Yerba Buena Gardens.
Yerba Buena?
Yerba Buena Gardens.
No, Yerba Buena.
Please be sure to join AMD, who is sponsoring this party, as well as Safra Katz, our president, as they toast with champagne and officially kick off the opening of our show. Mm-hmm. And then for those attendees with staying power, we reward them with one final party on Thursday afternoon.
That's going to be the big one.
That'll be the big one. It's always the biggest party.
Yeah. Well, here's news from partners. They want to make sure that everyone knows where and when they can pick up all their useful swag this year and see all the jugglers, fire eaters, plus where to go to get free T-shirts.
We're just having fun. On a serious note, the exhibit show floor this year is the biggest one that we've had ever. Over 470 partners on the show floor. And remember, there's 2 different show floors with the demo grounds located on both of those. They open tomorrow morning at 10:30.
10:30, huh? Wow.
You gonna be there?
I think I would like to be there. Yeah, that's going to be something. Now, how do we get there?
It's right outside. You want to go over to Moscone South as well as go over to Moscone West.
Okay, that'll be nice.
So I also want to point out one more new area, Kevin, that we didn't have before. We believe that Oracle has the most innovative customers in the world, and we've created a special showcase together with Intel. We're calling it Inside Innovation. And this is an area,
okay.
This is an area we got to stop by because we've got some really great joint customers like Whirlpool. I was over there earlier, and they've got a new machine that they're calling Duet. It's a combination of a washing machine and a dryer together into one.
Nice. I don't know how they do that. Do they have like a refrigerator that's also an oven? Can they do that or not?
I didn't see that one.
Well, I'm looking forward to both of those. That's going to be awesome.
So it's right outside at the top of Moscone North as well as in Moscone West.
Nice, nice.
So Kevin, I always leave everybody with my own personal list of tips. Have you started your list yet? Have you got your list going?
No, I haven't. I have no list going. I'll get it going.
All right, I'm going to start first.
Okay.
So first one is that when you come in every day, be sure to pick up the agenda, show guide, and directory. There's daily updates that are included so that you can always get the latest schedule. But as you're planning your day, probably the best thing you should do is use the online personalized schedule builder. When you do that, you'll actually be able to get reserved seats in the sessions and make sure that they're not full before you get there. The other thing is the pocket guide. In your badge holder, there's a really great tool that I use all the time. There's a little pocket guide that tells you quickly where things are located, and you can use that. The other is that while you're here, and if you want to get online, we have wireless networks throughout the convention center. And also, we're handing out anniversary pins throughout the show, just kind of if you want to pick what year you started working with Oracle, that you became an Oracle customer, or that you were an Oracle partner. Please feel free to pick one of those up and wear those, and we'll be able to recognize that and be able to start some conversations with you during the week as well. And probably the last thing, because we want the event to get better every year, is the conference survey.
Yes.
If you fill that out, Kevin, you could possibly win one of those Fujitsu Light notebook laptops that you were eyeing backstage.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that.
So how's your list going?
Okay, I'm done. Okay, this is just kind of common sense stuff. If you're going up to see the Whirlpool washer/dryer, why not bring a load of clothes up with you? Best way to get a stain off a virtual whiteboard is with a little virtual white wine. I found that helps. When cleaning your laptop screen, never use a hard wire brush or 409.
That's a good one.
Okay, and if you're me, stay out of the no slide zone.
Yes.
And most importantly, finally, from my own experience, take your badge off when you're bending over the garbage disposal. You don't want that to happen. So those are my notes, Judy, and I hope that's helpful to some people.
I'm sure they are. So finally, in the retail news, which is my own personal favorite,
That's
shopping.
my favorite too.
Oracle Open World has partnered with the City of San Francisco. They've been fantastic. They've extended the experience for our customers beyond the convention center, and we call it the Show Your Badge program. There's restaurants, stores, museums, other San Francisco attractions. Wherever you see the Open World logo, you'll get a special discount while shopping or dining there.
That'll be great. That'll save a lot of people something.
Okay, so in closing, I wanted to be able to say that this is really the week that me, as an Oracle employee, I am really the proudest to be associated with Oracle Open World. We have over 300,000 customers, and we want to thank you and really welcome you to Oracle Open World. I'm Judy Sim.
And I'm Kevin Nealon, and that's News to Us. Thank you very much, everybody.
In '84, everybody was hiring without acknowledging they were hiring. And these new people would walk in, and they'd say they were hired, and I say no, and they say yes, and I say I don't have you on my little one page I typed every week telephone
list of who should be working here.
And so eventually we ran out of space. So eventually I would take whoever was not in the office, like on vacation, and I bought a couple of empty trash cans, put a telephone receiver in it, put a keyboard in it, put the one-page list of who's who.
The phone list of who's who.
And I hand them the trash can and I say, go find an empty desk.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Larry Ellison.
I'll be brief this time, unlike last time. I'd just like to thank you all very much for joining us here this evening. A special thanks to all of the Oracle alums. If I didn't mention your name, it isn't because I'm not grateful or you didn't contribute enormously to Oracle's growth over this 30 years. Thank you. A special thank you to you, to all of our current employees, to all of our partners and all of our customers. From the bottom of my heart, without you, we would have nothing. Have a great week. Thank you very much.